How do you help a student develop a growth mindset? As a science teacher, I tried for years to help my students change their mindsets to develop, and it was like beating my head against a wall. It was very frustrating to try and give one-off little lessons about how your mindset can shift, how your mindset can change. Now, as an innovative arts teacher, I've got a lot more freedom and a lot better resources to be able to teach how mindsets work and why kids should develop a growth mindset. And I finally have some things I can share to help other teachers create growth mindsets in their own rooms. The first thing is to start with the basics, and the basics is how our brains work. So our brains are made up of neurons. We have hundreds of billions of neurons in our brain, and each neuron can have thousands of connections. I think they found neurons that had almost 2,000 connections. So that's trillions of connections inside of your brain. Those connections are what you know and how you learn. So when you are learning something new, you are making a connection between different things in your brain. So when you're learning a vocabulary word, you're connecting the part of your brain that says fast with that vocabulary word that means fast. And those connections need to be there if you're going to remember that. That's the basic. That's how our brains work. How do those connections get made? Well, your brain is making connections in your short-term memory all day. And while you sleep, those short-term connections are being processed out. They're being cleared out. And the ones that your brain is trying to figure out are important, well, the ones that it thinks are important are trying to encode into long-term memory. And so your long-term memory connections are being developed while you sleep. That's why kids should understand why it is they should be getting some sleep at night. Their parents aren't just saying, get some sleep for no reason. If you're not getting sleep, your long-term memory is not being developed, your short-term memory is not being cleared out, and you're just not going to be learning very much. The other thing I like to teach is how you make connections when you make mistakes. If you try something and you do it wrong, your brain is going to be learning and fixing what it did wrong. So when you make mistakes, something special happens in your brain and you start getting more connections. You start having a better chance of doing it right the next time. So when my boys were 5 years old, I told one of them when he made a mistake, it's good that you made a mistake. Something special is happening in your brain and you've got a connection there. And when he was 6, he was telling me that back. He said, I made a mistake, but it's a good thing because now I understand and my brain is a little bit better for it. And if they start to value mistakes as ways to learn and ways to develop their brain, then they start seeing mistakes as good things. And mistakes are a great big part of a growth mindset. If you want to be amazing at something, if you want to be in an orchestra, if you want to be a professional music player, you've got to practice maybe 8 hours a day. And that practice isn't so that you're perfect for all 8 hours a day. It's so you can make more mistakes than anyone else. If you're practicing that long, you can make so many mistakes and you can try to learn from what you're doing wrong that you can start to fix it and get better than anyone else. So I ask my students, if you want to be really great at something, do you want to make more mistakes at it or less? And right off the bat, they say less. But then they think about it, they say, wait, if I want to be really good, I need to make more mistakes at that thing. You need to do it more, value the mistakes, learn from them, and move forward. And so as soon as you switch mistakes from, oh, I messed up, I should quit, to, oh, I'm better now, that's a huge step in a growth mindset. Failure works basically the same way. If you are trying to go into something, if you're trying a project, if you're starting a venture of any type, and it fails, are you worse off or are you better off? You now understand how the world works a little bit better. You see what happened. You know what you should have done. You can start it better next time. And your brain is better for those failures. On my website, I've got a whole page devoted to all the failures from my past, and I've got a spot showing what it is I've learned from those failures. It's also good to bring up attitudes. So when you walk into a class, your expectations, your attitude, help to decide how it goes in that class. If you're walking into a math class and you say, my mom's bad at math, I'm just bad at this, it's not going to go well. then as soon as you get a little bit of a difficulty in that math class, maybe it's a problem that takes you 5 seconds to complete, well, as soon as you have that little bit of a problem, oh, I knew I was going to be bad at this, and you start short-circuiting any hard work you might start doing. And so the person who expects to fail at that math class, the person who expects to be bad at math, ends up making themselves bad at math because they're so keyed in on being bad at that. They don't realize they're setting themselves up for failure. On the flip side, if someone walks into a math class and they say, I'm going to be really good at this, I'm going to try my best, I'm just going to get good at math. They're going to come up on that same problem. It's not going to be any more difficult than that first problem, but they're going to come up on that same problem, and they're going to try longer than 5 seconds. They're going to try for 10 seconds. And if that doesn't work, maybe they look back at their notes and say, oh, okay, what? And if that doesn't work, they're going to ask their neighbor. And if that doesn't work, they're going to raise their hand and say, how is it that how do we do this problem? And because they expect themselves to succeed, they're going to succeed. It's not that the first person had less skill and the second person had more skill. It's because their attitude and their expectations lead them to succeed or lead them to fail. The second person, over time, looks like someone where school is easy because they've got lots of connections in their brain. They've got good habits, which is another thing we'll bring up. They've got a lot of things that they've done over time to help them succeed at school. Their attitude, their expectations have all fed into this person who makes it look easy to be in school. And someone else who hasn't done all of those things, they're like, oh, why is school so easy for them? Well, they've been working at it. They've got experience doing all these things. They're not afraid to ask a question. They know in their head when they're not understanding and when they need to get clarification. They don't just sit back, watch the teacher do it, and say, well, looks easy enough, I'll remember that. They know themselves a little bit better. And so teaching a growth mindset means teaching all of these things. It's kind of hard to impress on kids that it's not the first person's abilities that made them fail, it's the first person's mindset that makes them worse off in the end, instead of the first person or the second person has a better mindset, has a better attitude, and they have better habits. So if your habit is to give up as soon as you have a little bit of difficulty, you're going to give up as soon as there's a little bit of difficulty. If your habit is to ask a question whenever it is that you have a question, you're going to be much better off for that. So teaching growth mindset is a great way to help kids start believing in themselves and start seeing that their choices are starting to decide where they go in life. Hi, thanks for watching. My name is Peter Johnson. I'm the Innovative Arts teacher at Pine Island Middle School and the creator of PuzzleShiftCreate.com, where we talk about mindsets, technology, and creativity and how to help kids become creators of their own type. To help kids become creators, we need materials. We need things that they can experiment with. And I got so frustrated paying retail prices, I started purchasing them in bulk myself. And I've got so many extras that I'm starting a creators co-op where I'm hoping to find other classrooms where we buy in bulk together, and because no one's making a profit, more kids can become creators. So check it out at the website. If you want to become a supporter and help bring more materials to kids, that would be awesome. That's also on the website. If you appreciate the effort here, please hit like and subscribe. It really does help. And I hope you have a great day.